This is Hickok45, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the deep woods of Middle Tennessee. Yes, the land of, well, it's the land of a lot of things. Lately, it's been the land of some beautiful weather. You know, we've had some snows in recent weeks, as you've seen evidence of in videos. But then lately, we're approaching 70 degrees. So you never know what kind of weather we'll have in Middle Tennessee. Bounces back and forth. So pretty nice, pretty nice. What's on tab this week? Well, I want to try to, for the first time, really keep it shorter this week. But I have a few things we'll talk about. One of those is, well, we'll have our favorite, well, not favorite, but our gun action of the week. All my guns are my favorites. But we'll test your auditory senses by testing and working the action of some fine firearm for you, and let you know what last week's was. And what else? Going to address some issues on favorite guns, so to speak. Keeping some variety in your shooting hobby, some things like that. What else? Guns I've owned. Got one there I want to talk about a little bit. And we'll just see what else comes along as I start blabbing. You just never know, do you? So, anyway, try to keep it shorter and still, you know, talk about a few things that might be of interest to you and me, and who knows, maybe the bugs in the reloading room that are listening. So, we'll just get started and see what comes out of my mouth. How's that sound? Something I notice on the channel that amuses me quite often are comments that people make about the dislikes. Really a lot of room there for creativity, that's for sure. The folks who comment, if there's 3 dislikes on a video or 5 or whatever. Anyway, the things that you guys come up with are pretty amazing and pretty funny. And it reminds me that there are actually dislikes. I tend not to pay attention to that, but some people even seem to get a little upset. You know, some of you viewers and subscribers, you just can't imagine why somebody would dislike a video, particularly some videos, and of course, you're basically, I guess, expressing support, you know, for the video, which is great. But I think sometimes people really are perplexed. Maybe like what? Who would not like the video? What's going on here? That's great. Well, just keep in mind that there are obviously those little trolls that come around, and if they get blocked or whatever bad experience they have, you know, they may come back, you know, and click a dislike. Some people click dislike by accident, I'm sure, you know. I've done that. You've seen my posts on the profile at times. I'll, you know, as busy as I am and clicking around and bouncing around, I may click a delete a comment or something that I didn't mean to. And then, of course, you just got people that are just troublemakers. You got anti-gun people, you know, that probably wander in and or get to a video by mistake just based on the name of the video. You know, I have one called Gun Control. I'm sure a lot of people come in there by mistake when they see what that one's really about. And who knows what else? Maybe somebody's just envious or jealous. I don't know, but just don't read too much into that. So anyway, pretty funny stuff sometimes, and I enjoy some of those comments. And you folks that really do or wonder or are perplexed about the dislikes, don't be. That's the real world. If you're doing something, anybody who's doing something is going to have a detractor or two, maybe a distractor too. So just wanted to mention that. I kind of enjoy that. Something that continues to come up is the question or comment about my favorite gun, my favorite 3-gun battery. I've been getting a lot of questions about that just in messages, which I really don't have time to generally go through and give a really intelligent answer, you know, as if I could ever give an intelligent answer to anything anyway. But kind of be aware, you know, that I'm getting hundreds of messages every day and trying to get to almost all of them. And if there's something that qualifies for an answer, which is most of them, and they're in the right place, you know, in my message box, personal messages, I generally give an answer, unless it's, again, something that just one of the obvious things. How many guns do you have? And, you know, the things I have posted on my profile that I tend not to answer because I have to skip something if I'm going to get to the questions that, well, I don't want to describe them, but just questions that are legitimate, I guess, that are not on my list, my hit list there on the main page. Just read my entire profile, if you will. Boy, I wish there was some way I could get people to do that before they start looking at the videos. But again, don't mean to be rude. I just don't have time, So I can't write an answer to how many guns do you have. I can't write an explanation for why I'm not answering that every time someone asks that question, obviously. And then, of course, the other 10 or 15 questions like that. So you all are aware of that. You can pretty much imagine with 50,000 subscribers how it is and what I'm trying to keep up with. So anyway, but I do get good questions like that. I've had, for some reason recently, I don't know, maybe there were some magazine articles about this recently or something, that, or maybe someone else did a video on it, but about what would be my 3 guns or my 5 guns if I could only have 5 or only 3, and of course the old favorite gun always comes up, and maybe I need to do a video on that. But anyway, one of the things that I always think about, and I've covered this before, it's like the favorite gun question, and I did answer that in an FAQ, and I pegged my Glock 23, as my favorite gun. If I have to choose, again, Glock 19, Glock 26, Glock 23 might be my favorite pistols. My favorite revolver would be possibly a 3-inch 29, or a 4-inch model, 29 44 mag, or a 3. I don't know. I like them all. That's the problem. It's like, what's your favorite child? But all those are interesting discussions and worthy of discussion for sure, aren't they? The 3-gun battery is kind of interesting, and I might address that in a video sometime. But all of them are contingent upon some criteria, like what are we talking about? If I live in New York City, what's my favorite gun? What would be my 3-gun battery? If I could only have 3 guns. If I live in Alaska, if I live in Montana, if I live in Florida, it would vary. Am I a hunter? Am I not a hunter? Am I 19 years old? Am I 40 years old? Do I just hate revolvers? Do I just not like semi-automatic pistols? Do I hate Glocks? For choosing the best gun or the best 3 guns, it is just all dependent. Am I recoil sensitive? Do I need something that doesn't recoil too much? I don't know. There's just a million questions that a person needs to ask the questioner, before I can give a really good answer to that. So I tend to just throw out things like a Glock 19. You can never go wrong with a Glock 19. And you can, of course, extend that to an XDM 9 or whatever, an H&K 9mm, P30 or something. Obviously there's guns like that, and I'm leaving out some SIG 226, 229, P229. What else? A car, some of those mid-sized guns, or even the smaller one. Obviously I could list about 40 companies here. You can't go wrong with some of those mid-sized guns that are kind of an all-around gun. And it just depends on preferences, doesn't it? So even if I give an answer, it's just kind of something I come off the top of my head that would work. There could be 10 others that would work as well. So all the variables. And those are interesting discussions and interesting things to explore, particularly the 3-gun battery. I think if you could just have one pistol, one handgun, let's say, one rifle and one shotgun, what would you have? And again, that depends on whether or not you're a hunter, or whether just self-defense is your primary interest, or target shooting, or competition. Maybe you're primarily a competition shooter. So all that changes, doesn't it? So anyway, interesting questions and interesting discussions, and it's something I get in my mailbox every single day about my favorite this and that. So again, part of why I do the videos is to show what my favorites are. Okay, so anyway, just wanted to mention that. I still try to answer some of those, or I'll give a brief answer, or I'll just write "get lost" or something like. No, I never do that. Anyway, interesting topics. Just can't always address them or give a really thoughtful answer to them just because I've got another 50 messages I'm trying to get to. So I can't just, sometimes I do, as you know, you folks who send the messages, you might be surprised sometimes. You get a couple of paragraphs about something like that, just I have the time, maybe I'm off that day, and, I'm just in a mood to write, But then other times I don't have the time, and I just have to rush through it. And it's on a different topic, but sometimes also I get videos sent to me. And I need to go ahead and address that. I get videos sent to me and attached, in a private message. And again, if I have 73 messages I'm trying to get to read, and depending on where I am and what I'm doing, and if I'm on my dial-up, I'm on my broadband connection, or whatever is going on, I can't always look at those. And I'll try to make a note to come back, or mental note to come back, and I can't. So again, don't be offended if I don't look at your video. Sometimes I just can't do it, or I don't have the time. And the nature of private messages in YouTube, it's not like email. You just kind of lose stuff, Plus I'm getting so many, I have no recollection of usernames except for a few. So anyway, it's just that because it's so busy, which is good, but there are positives and negatives for that, and that's one of the negatives. So anyway, well, I mentioned all that, and hope you understand. It shouldn't be any big surprise to you that I would have some advice in the area of trying to keep some variety in your hobby, your shooting hobby, your firearms collecting hobby, whatever it might be. Now, of course, you might absolutely reject it because your hobby might be collecting, World War II Lugers or something and nothing else. So there are some people who specialize in certain firearms and have really interesting and expansive collections of those guns. You see them at gun shows. That's just their thing. Of course, that's great. I do, as I mentioned before, other areas have noticed some people that seem to be involved in just one sort of firearm and really have no interest in shooting the others, or don't know that they have an interest at all, perhaps. But anyway, there's so many cool guns out there. My advice, and I would just encourage you to branch out into various types of firearms instead of maybe just buying 6 different 1911s, because you've discovered since you got into firearms, 4 years ago, you really enjoy shooting the 1911. And you've just been about collecting 1911s and different sizes and barrel lengths and shooting them, and maybe even putting a lot of money into them, and really just haven't shot many other firearms. Well, that's one way to go, and there's nothing wrong with that. Fortunately, there's no rules for collecting guns and shooting, but just let me advise you that you could be missing out on some really neat guns, some really interesting pieces of history. If you just, of course, browse through my playlists and the videos, you see I'm kind of the other end of that scale, aren't I? I shoot all sorts of things. I just really like them equally. Whether it's an AK, I know a little bit about the history of the AK, and you see them in movies. It's really interesting to have one and to fire it and to know how it operates. Same with an AR-15. Same thing. Same gun our military carries, so that style of rifle is fun to shoot, learn about, take apart, break down, clean, replace parts if necessary. Lever guns, my gosh, turn on a Western, all the various types of those. It's just interesting to know about those and to actually own some of them and fire them and know what it was like back in the day. Muzzle loaders, same thing. Single shots, semi-auto pistols, bolt-action rifles, both military or not. Good old double-barrel shotguns, pump shotguns, semi-auto shotguns. Just any gun you of course, a Colt single-action or a clone, some kind of single-action revolver. There's so many guns. There's so much history attached to these things that I just hate for people to specialize too much and not branch out and enjoy the various types of firearms that are out there. It's all our own choices, but it's just so much fun to get into a different firearm and enjoy it. And I think it's one reason I'm a little bit more open to exploring other types of pistols. I'm basically kind of a Glock guy when it comes right down to it. But I have enjoyed over the last year or so learning more about some of the competition in that area. in that specific area, a semi-automatic defensive pistol, basically. Once you select one, you don't really need to get 5 different types. In fact, as you know, I advise you to find one you like and kind of stick with that particular model, that particular type of gun, whether it has a thumb safety or not, or where the mag release is. It of course is advantageous to stick with one type of operation. Learn to shoot it well. Put your money into ammo. That's one of my pieces of advice, instead of 19 different firearms that are almost like it. Okay, but by the same token, doesn't hurt to branch out for fun, particularly if they're just range guns. I've enjoyed messing with the SIG and different guns. The H&K P30 that recently got my hands on. The XDMs, the cars. It's just interesting to see different guns and how they operate, and decide what you like about them, what you don't like about them. And it's been especially fun to do that on video and share that with you guys. So anyway, I just encourage variety. Get out there, get out more, and explore the big world of firearms. I know it can be expensive, but sometimes, if you look at your own collection, what you've got going there, you may have like several duplicates of something that you could always trade for something different. Once you get a little bit bored with it, we've all gone through those stages. Anyway, just a little advice. Enjoy the variety and the history of our wonderful endeavor, the shooting sports, and the fine pastime, just collecting, admiring, cleaning, tinkering, gunsmithing, whatever your area is. So just what I want to say about that. Kind of along the same lines, variety, I wanted to mention that the guns that I have are varied, and I've got, I guess, 3 different categories of firearms now that I'm doing this YouTube thing. I have the firearms that I have bought because I liked that gun. I wanted to own it, to shoot it. Okay, nice gun, got to have that one. Then I have some guns that I have acquired over the last whatever year or so that were primarily for the video project. Maybe a T&E gun, from whoever, Glock, Springfield. It looks like maybe Ruger too coming up. Maybe it's a gun I'm not that crazy about. Maybe it's a gun that I've gotten a lot of requests for, and so I want to get one. There's a lot of people buying it, and I want to do some videos with it, and because of the requests from viewers, basically. But it might not be a gun I plan to own. So I've got maybe a couple of guns like that. So if I have a gun, I shoot it. Maybe I seem to shoot it well. It seems like a pretty good gun. I have no major complaints. But because it's more or less a duplicate, I do end up selling it, or I send it back if it's a TNA gun. I don't purchase it, or just whatever the case might be. So there will always be, I guess, guns in that category that I am either purchasing or getting from a manufacturer because of the many requests I get, or the huge popularity of that gun. And just adds to the channel. I don't want to just ignore what's out there and just continue doing nothing but Glock 23 videos. Duh. I can shoot anything I want anytime. So if I'm going to do videos, I might as well do something that's fun, number one, and then also that is something that would be useful. Because I am trying to make this educational, this endeavor, as well as entertaining at times. So so those are 2 big areas right there. The guns that I buy for myself, that's a gun I'm going to own, do videos with it probably, but it's just a gun I like, okay? And then that area of guns that maybe I'm pretty sure it's nothing I'm going to keep, but it's something that people, want to see, and there's a lot of buzz about it, and let's just get one, do a video with it, and give my impressions of it. Some people seem to think my opinion matters a little bit. I don't know why. Well, then there's another area of guns. I kind of have this into 3 categories. The gray area, I guess I call it. And I have some guns I could name. They're in that gray area right now. They're firearms that maybe I've acquired and I just have been curious about. The Judge, for example. maybe that's a good example, I guess. A gun I've purchased recently that I've been thinking about for a couple of years would be, even before the videos, I believe. I think that's a kind of an interesting concept, you know. Like, you know, I might need to get one of those sometime. And then recently I finally did, and I know a lot of people have them. The gun shops are full of them in every configuration you can imagine. And I've had a lot of requests to do videos with them. And so all that kind of blends. I need to get one of those, you know, and do some videos and give my impressions of it. Maybe it's something I want to keep, you know. So that gun's in a gray area. And there are others that are kind of, I'm not sure whether they're my guns or going to be my guns 5 years from now or 2 years from now, or they're just a gun that I'm going to review and then sell. I don't know. So I got kind of 3 areas there just to make you aware of that. So if you hear all of a sudden I don't have a particular gun, it was probably one of those guns, you know, in that third category that I got mainly to do some videos with, give my impressions with. And I can't keep every gun. I don't need 500 guns, you know, lying around just because I had a lot of requests for it. And so, and to do videos with it. But then again, guns will kind of drift down into my own collection if I do have guns like that initially that I think I don't really want that gun for myself, but I owe it to my viewers to review that gun and give my impressions of it. Well, who knows? Maybe I like it enough I want to keep it, you know. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of talk about that because I know it might be confusing to some people. If I have a gun, then I don't. Now, one thing I do is with every video, I don't think I've ever not done it. I mean, it's not like I set out to and wrote a note to myself to do this. I just do it. If a gun I'm ever doing a video with is a gun that does not belong to me, I mention that. You know, I did a couple of guns that were a friend of mine's, Ruger Vaquero and GP100. You know, I mentioned that in the video. If it's a T&E gun, I think I always mention that, just so you'll know. And so again, these people that keep asking, are these guns all yours? I get that message every day, you know, these guns all yours? And well, just look at the videos. If I don't say anything about it at all, it's one of my guns. If I do mention, you know, where I got it or it's a T&E gun, and that tells you that. So that's kind of how that works. And I guess just because I just like to let you know that. And also, it's kind of, I guess, under the heading of full disclosure. You know, I don't think it'd be honest if I pulled out, I don't know, let's say I got a Glock 36, okay? I said, hey man, I got me a new Glock 36, you know, and shooting it up and everything and bragging on it and, you know, and acting like I just came to the conclusion I wanted a Glock 36 and it's the best gun, well, maybe one of the best Glocks, you know? Well, maybe well and good, maybe the truth, I don't know. But if it were really a T&E gun, just a gun that I got from Glock to test, and then I'm going to send it back, yeah, I'm not going to do that kind of stupid stuff. So you'll know where the guns come from. If you want to know where any gun comes from, just go back there all 340 or 50 videos, and it's there. If I don't say anything, it's mine. Okay, so I thought I'd get that out there. And guess what it's time for after all this blabbing? It's time for the gun action of the week. And first and foremost, I know you want to know what it was last week that I was fondling and working with. Well, you know, I guess most of the guns I've done so far are pretty mainstream firearms, pretty popular firearms, nothing too obscure. And last week's was no different. And a lot of you got it, actually. It was here it is again one more time. Yep, Glock 23, Generation 4. Okay, Glock 23 40 caliber, Generation 4. You heard the trigger pull, you heard the magazine in and out. Again, one of my faves. I really do like that Generation 4 Glock 23. It's a keeper. That's why I kept it. You know, it started out as a T&E gun, and I bought it. So that's what that was. Now this week, we are going to move to well, I won't say too much. I will give you a little clue, though. This gun is not quite in the Glock category, and it's one of my all-time favorite guns. Okay, one of the very last to go. If you ever see this up for sale, you can look for me pretty soon. pretty soon to be down sitting on the steps of the Union Mission in Nashville, probably, because it would be one of the very last guns I ever would sell. So, see what you think. Here we go. I'll pull the trigger again. I don't like to do it too many times. I might even do a little loading. Let's see. If I can find some bullets. Now some of that sound was me fishing rounds out of a little dish here. Okay. I'll even carefully rack a round. Okay, so whatever you think that is, it is a firearm, goes boom. You should be able to tell me what it is, what caliber, what barrel length, and what color it is, and you know where the scratches are. Okay, so good luck on that one. Under guns I've owned, don't have a long story this week. I'll try to keep it brief. I thought I'd mention the Thompson Center Hawken rifle. Now many of you probably have those. That are into muzzle loading. It was my very first muzzle loader. I visited, I've mentioned the old Charlie Hafner range out in Williamson County here in Tennessee, south of Franklin, inviting me out. I think I mentioned in the last show perhaps. But I watched some guys shooting Thompson Center Hawken rifles, and I wasn't familiar with them. I was probably 73, and I thought those were beautiful guns. Watched them load and shoot, you know, hammering away at the steel targets, and they were very, very helpful with information about them. And I decided I had to have one. That's what got me into muzzle loading, because those were just neat rifles. I always liked octagonal barrels on a rifle, always did, and they even had that. So I found me a 50 caliber Thompson Center Hawken rifle, and learned to load and shoot that thing, and just thoroughly enjoyed it. I even had a, you know me, big bore Hickok. I even replaced the barrel at one point with a 58 caliber Hawken barrel from Green Mountain. You know, they made, and I guess they still do, made replacement barrels for the Thompson Center, and they made one in 58 caliber. So I thought that would be fun too, slinging 58 caliber round balls out there. So that was a really neat gun. And really the only reason I don't have is I had a little burglary issue 10, 15 years ago, before the days of my high security and the deputy living next door and all that kind of thing. But so I lost it because it was just out leaning against the fireplace, you know, for looks. But a really, really nice Hawken, and I missed that. I decided to replace it with the Enfield Civil War musket, which I enjoy. It's a rifle too, I guess, but it's rifled. But just for something different, because I had been into the Hawken style rifle. I even had Great Plains from Lyman at one point there. Had both of them for a while. So nothing like a Hawken rifle. You know what I'm talking about. It's the half stock, octagonal barrel, just a gorgeous rifle, whether it's a muzzleloader or not. You can't help but you know, appreciate the looks of one of those. The brass or even iron furniture, it looks good, but mine had brass. Beautiful trigger guard, just very, very good shooters as well. So anyway, the Thompson Center Hawken, one of my favorite guns. Just have not replaced it or gotten back into it. To tell you the truth, the Enfield has spoiled me a little bit. You know, loading those mini balls, and it's just easier to load and easier to shoot. It really is. The only problem with mine is I need to raise the front sight, you know, build it up somehow so I can shoot at moderate distances. I think those things are designed with the sights to shoot at 200 yards and beyond, you know, and that's the furthest I ever shoot. So, but other than that, I just really enjoy it, and it's easier to load and work with in a lot of ways. So, anyway, Thompson Center Hawken rifles, really, really nice ones. And there's some others, the other companies that make the Hawken, but I know you know what I'm talking about. You folks that know muzzleloaders, they're just beautiful guns. Quick update on the Glock 19 Gen 4. If you've seen all those videos, I guess there are 4 of them with that gun. and I don't know, 3, 4. I think I've used it in 3 or 4, maybe 5 different videos. Used it in one. Let's see, what was it? It was, we were shooting something else. Oh, I know, the basketball dribbling. I was using the Gen 4 Glock 19 in that video. So you never know what Glock's going to pop up if I'm just doing something like that. But that gun seems to have smoothed out since the second video. We've not had any problems with the weak ammo. I've shot it just a few times here and there since then too with Winchester White Box that's not been in videos, and still doing fine. The spring has apparently broken in, or the gun, So, and again, we never really had major problems with it. We had one malfunction with each of those 3 brands of ammo. The Remington UMC, we had one malfunction with one of those, and with a Winchester White Box, and what else was? Oh, the Federal Champion. The 3 culprits, and it seems to have kind of worked itself out to where we may not. I would expect occasionally still, because it does have that stronger spring, but it's broken in now to where it's not apparently a problem. I'm not sure it was a serious problem even to begin with that weaker ammo. I guess if you want a spring that's going to dampen the recoil a little bit and maybe improve the overall function, you got to give up something. I guess if you have some weak ammo that is possibly irregular to begin with, and that's one of the issues, of course, with some of the bulk ammo we buy, is maybe the quality control is not always there, and out of 1,000 rounds, maybe 990 of them are going to be just fine, but then you've got 5 or 10 that are just a little bit under pressure there, so you might have an issue on the range. I don't know. So anyway, not a big deal, but if it were, I wouldn't have bought the gun. I called Glock and bought that gun. I like the Gen 4s. What can I say? And again, Glock doesn't pay me anything, and on the contrary, I pay them. There's no telling how many thousands of dollars in ammo I put through Glocks on video. So a little bit of a price break on a gun, that's basically it. And of course, when I buy it, it's a used gun. So, I just like the Gen 4 feel. I have no problem with the Gen 4. So that's, those 2 guns are in my battery now. That Glock 19 Gen 4, and then the Glock 23 Gen 4. The only thing is, as I mentioned in one of the videos, the only reason I was a little reluctant on it, I went back and forth, and it's getting close to time to have to send it back or purchase. I wasn't sure about. There's still a little bit of creep in that trigger that I don't have in the other Gen 4s, and have not perceived in any other Gen 4s. Just a little bit. Ironically, I seem to shoot it better than the other Glock 19s I have, though. So in the shooting, it's not an issue, but if I just stand and test it, I can feel a little bit of creep. So it's just one of those paradoxes. I did call the tech people down there and ask them if they'd send me another trigger bar, and they're very nice. They don't know who I am, a tech, but they're going to send me another trigger. And I told them what I was experiencing, and he's going to send me another trigger and see how that does. So I'll get the creep out of that one way or the other. And it's a keeper. What can I say? All right. Thought you might be interested in the saga of the Gen 4, so you'll probably see it again in a video. So let me wrap this up today by thanking you all for all the support over the last couple of years, and your continued support. I ask you to help me answer comments on the videos. It's just getting so big, I can't get around to everything. And if you'll help me take care of maybe the idiotic comments that come around as best you can, whatever you think is appropriate, and maybe PM me if, private message me if there's something somewhere on a video that's just absolutely obnoxious, really, really obscene or anything like that. Obviously, if I have seen it, it would be gone, but maybe I haven't seen it. So help me with that. Want to keep the channel as family friendly as possible. Can't ever do that totally, I realize, and people just use different language these days. And as a matter of course, some of that I if it's I can tell it's just the way this guy talks, or maybe he uses something that's a little obscene. It kind of depends. I have to use my own judgment, and I don't see it all. But and then also, if you just anything you see you think I need to know about, I had a close call the other day. I I tend to accept. I know since I don't subscribe to many folks, unless I know them personally, I try to be very open with accepting friend requests, because I think it helps people to keep up with the channel. So I just go in and pretty much willy-nilly look through the usernames real quick, and I accept friendships. It helps. I know it helps them and you. I almost clicked approve on one the other day, and I noticed the name, something about I don't know, some Klansman or something in the name, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, now who would use that as a name, even as a joke and something? And I went to this site, and it was like, oh my gosh, man, people in white sheets. It was the real deal. It was actually some KKK person. It wasn't a joke or parody, as best I could tell. And I'd almost accepted them as a friend, So if you ever see, been meaning to mention this, if you ever see on some other channel that you, I don't know, breeze through, get to somehow by mistake, whatever, if you ever see that someone is a friend, quote unquote, of mine, and they look, the channel looks to be of rather dubious nature, and you're wondering, why would Hickok have accepted that person as a friend? Well, that's kind of the reason. You might let me know if I ever make any blunders there, because it's not because I have researched them and decided, yes, there's someone I want to be friends with necessarily. Okay, because I almost made it. And that happened before. In fact, someone did notify me about 6 months ago on something like that, and boy, did I unfriend that one quickly. So anyway, if you'll help me with that too, I appreciate it. If you happen to run across anything, again, I want to try to keep everything kind of family friendly. I really do relish and cherish the comments I get so often, from mothers and fathers especially, about how they don't worry about their children watching the videos. They watch them with their son, and that kind of thing. And I want to keep it that way as much as possible, because as far as I'm concerned, that's a major step in bringing in new people into our sport, which we absolutely have to do. That's maybe more important than anything we do, is bringing in the youngsters and teaching them, safe gun handling and the correct way to think about firearms and approach firearms, and to not get into that thug mentality, that's out there. Of course, that's a very small minority, percentage of people interested in guns. Anybody. We all know that. So anyway, if you'll help me with all that, I sure do appreciate it. And stay in touch. Keep your comments or your messages as brief as you can when you do write me, and I'll try to get you an answer. What else? I guess that's about it, except continue to exaggerate safety and do what you can to present a positive influence for all of us in the firearms community. Y'all have a great week, and maybe I'll talk to you again next week. You've been listening to the Hickok45 Radio Show. See you on the range.